Derek didn't even sound upset when he called, just said it plain like he was ordering lunch. Dad's not eating, forgetting to take the trash out, mail's piling up. We think he might need someone around. I was underneath a Cat D6 in St. Paul when I got that call, covered in grease, earning damn good union pay. My apartment sat above O'Shaughnessy's bar, smelled like stale beer and fryer oil, but it was mine. Friday nights, I'd grab a pint, maybe see Natalie. She wasn't anything serious, but she'd started leaving a toothbrush in my medicine cabinet. None of that mattered after the call. I packed up that night, didn't even give my foreman 2 weeks, just left my tools in the shop, said goodbye to the crew, and drove 6 hours back to Dayton. Quick note before we go deeper. Before listening, share which city or country you're watching from. I'm Carl. I'm 44 now. Been in Dayton ever since. Mom had passed 6 months before Derek's call. Lung cancer? Real fast. 1 minute she's complaining about a cough, the next we're scattering ashes at Cedar Creek. After that, Dad just drifted. I didn't blame him. They were married 42 years. Still, I thought it'd be temporary. Get him back on his feet, make sure he's eating, paying bills. 6 months, maybe a year, tops. Lauren, too busy with the twins. Derek said his firm had him slammed. Billables, like that meant more than blood. So it fell on me. Always me. I gave up the apartment, gave Natalie the key back, told her I couldn't do the back and forth thing. She said, "I'm not trying to date a nurse's aide, Carl." That was the last thing she ever said to me. Real sweet. I sold most of my tools for a fraction of what they were worth. Snap-on stuff I'd collected over 20 years. You want to know how bad it got? I pawned my torque wrench for gas money. Dad barely noticed when I moved in. He just said, "You hungry?" and pointed to a box of crackers. The fridge had expired milk, an open jar of mustard, and a frozen meatloaf from before Mom died. I threw out half of it that first night. The next morning, I started sorting his meds, organizing mail, scheduling appointments. Nobody asked me to. I just did it. Because someone had to. Months turned to years. Derek visited twice, brought a pie the first time, nothing the second. Lauren sent Christmas cards. That was it. I wiped the kitchen floor when Dad forgot how to use the coffee maker and spilled hot water everywhere. Took him to the ER when he fainted in the garden. Slept on the old couch because his room was closer to the bathroom and he had night tremors. Nobody else stepped up, and I never asked them to. 2 years ago, Dad started seeing a nurse named Paula. She worked at the clinic where I took him for blood pressure checks. Mid-50s, dyed blonde hair, kind of stiff smile. She'd pat his hand and say things like, "Oh, Harold, you're too funny," even when he wasn't saying anything funny. I didn't think much of it, figured it was a nice distraction. Then one day, he came home grinning like a kid, holding a pink bakery box and a brochure for a riverboat casino. Said Paula wanted to take him to Indiana for the weekend. I raised an eyebrow. "Is that smart? You've got that follow-up Monday." "She said she'll make sure I'm back in time," he said. "She's real organized." 6 months later, they were married. Backyard ceremony, no invites. Derek and Lauren showed up smiling like someone handed them lottery tickets. I stood in the back with a folding chair, wondering what the hell just happened. At first, I gave her the benefit of the doubt. She made casseroles, did laundry, scheduled his appointments. She'd kiss his cheek, help him shave. I won't lie, it was nice seeing him light up again. But that wore off quick. One night, we were sitting in the living room watching Jeopardy reruns. She walked in, looked right at me and said, "Must be hard, being a grown man without a family or a job." I didn't respond, just stared at the TV and clenched my jaw. Couple days later, she caught me in the hallway while Dad was napping. "You know, Carl, you're crowding the energy of the house. It's not good for his healing." I said, "You mean I'm crowding your space?" She smiled like she'd just won a round of bingo. "Well, we're not getting any younger. Downsizing's on the horizon," I told Derek. He laughed. "Maybe it's time, man. She's taking care of him now. You've done your part." Lauren chimed in during a call later that week. "You should be proud. You gave up so much, but now Dad's fine. You can finally get back to your life." The hell I could. Dad still had arthritis bad enough that he couldn't open a damn pickle jar without help. Some mornings, he'd call me Frank, his older brother who died in '87. Once, I caught him trying to put salt in his coffee, but Paula started fading out, suddenly too tired to drive him to the doctor. Said she didn't like the dentist he'd seen for 20 years, wanted to switch. She stopped cooking too, unless company was coming. Then it was a whole show. I handled the pillboxes, appointments, insurance calls. I was the one waking up at 2 a.m. when he yelled out in his sleep, thinking it was 1992 and the tornado sirens were going off. She only stepped in when people were watching. Every time I brought up something he needed, a new walker, compression socks, even a damn haircut, she'd sigh and say, "I guess we'll try to fit that in." Then came the Sunday dinner, where she made quinoa salad and said we should all start thinking about aging with dignity. Derek looked up from his phone and said, "You ever consider moving out, Carl? Maybe give them space?" I said, "You ever consider shutting the hell up?" He didn't like that, but I didn't care. A week later, I caught her standing in the kitchen, whispering into the phone, talking about refinancing. When she saw me, she jumped. "It's nothing," she said. "Just a call with a friend. You wouldn't understand." I started keeping track, watching, listening. She was playing the long game. She didn't want to take care of him. She wanted to own the pieces left behind when I wasn't looking, and no one else gave a damn. She thought I wasn't paying attention, but I watched everything. So when Dad's 70th came up, I made it count. Rented tables from the VFW hall, borrowed a tent from a guy I knew who did graduation parties. Took a week off side jobs just to cook the brisket the way Mom used to. Smoked low, wrapped in butcher paper, basted with black coffee. I printed 50 photos from the attic and found an old camcorder with footage from our trip to the Ozarks. The crown jewel, an unopened bottle of Crown Royal I'd kept wrapped in a sweater at the back of the hall closet. It was from Dad's retirement party, still sealed with a dusty bow. And I found that fishing magazine, Field and Stream, July '75, with a Sharpie autograph from his hero, Charlie Myers. I paid a collector online $80 for it, worth every damn penny. He didn't cry when I showed him those things, but he blinked a lot, gripped my arm, said, "Your mom would have loved this." Paula, of course, decided she needed to help. Only her help came in the form of random invitations to people we didn't know. She added names to the guest list without asking me. Some guy named Vince showed up in loafers and a dress shirt like he was coming from a bank seminar. She introduced him like they were old pals. "Vince is a consultant," she said. That's all she gave me. Every time I turned around, she was fussing over appetizers and telling people how busy life had been lately, with a smile like she just inherited a vacation home. But it wasn't just her. Derek started popping in again, but only when Dad was out at appointments. I caught him once, standing at the kitchen island with Paula, heads low, flipping through a manila folder. I walked in and they both jumped. Paula shoved the papers back inside and said, "Oh, just bills. You know how it is." I didn't say anything, just stared until she walked out. A few days later, same scene. This time, I caught Derek whispering to her near the back door. He was holding a flash drive. She saw me and smiled wide. We were looking into long-term care options, just being proactive. "For who?" I asked. "For your dad, of course," she said, all sweet. "You've been stretched thin. Thought maybe you'd appreciate the help." Bullshit. That night, I sat in my truck, engine off, phone in hand. Dialed my old buddy Mike from St. Paul. Used to work the same job site as me. Now he's an elder law attorney near Columbus. We hadn't talked in a while, but he picked up first ring. "Took you long enough?" he said. "Something's off," I told him. "Paula's inviting strangers. Derek's sneaking around with documents. They're talking about long-term care. You got anything concrete?" "Not yet, but I know a setup when I see one." He didn't ask dumb questions, just said, "Keep watching, don't confront, document everything, I'll be in touch." I hung up and just sat there, hands on the wheel, watching the porch light flicker. Inside that house, my dad was sitting with his feet up, watching the Weather Channel like always. And outside, I was already gearing up for a war nobody else saw coming. I didn't sleep the night before the party. Sat at the kitchen table wrapping brisket in foil, going over every detail. Made the sauce from scratch, triple-checked the folding tables, laid out the photos in neat little clusters. I even set up a slideshow on Dad's old laptop, full of camping trips, birthdays, him and Mom dancing in the garage one New Year's. By noon, the yard was full. Cheap beer sweating in coolers, burgers hissing on the grill. Neighbors, a few cousins, some of Dad's old bowling buddies. He sat in the shade with a paper crown from the dollar store and smiled like he didn't have a care in the world. Little foggy, yeah, but happy. Then came the cake. Chocolate with peanut butter icing. Paula acted like she made it, even though I picked it up from Weaver's Bakery that morning. Everyone clapped, someone sang off key. Dad blew out the candles and said, "I wish I could still eat steak without my damn teeth rattling." People laughed. Even I cracked a smile. And then Derek stood up. He raised his beer and cleared his throat like he was about to give a TED Talk. "Thanks everyone for coming. This has been a really special day for Dad, and we appreciate the love and support." I leaned back against the fence, wiping my hands on a towel. But today isn't just about celebrating. It's also about looking ahead. My stomach dropped. "After a lot of thought and discussion," he went on, "we've made a family decision. We're selling the house." The yard went quiet. Even the damn wind stopped. "Dad's moving into Oak Ridge Senior Living next month," he said, smiling like a game show host. "Great facility, 24-hour care, tons of activities. It's what's best for him." Then he looked right at me. "Pack your bags, Carl." I didn't move. Paula stood behind Dad, one hand on his shoulder, grinning like she'd just nailed the audition of her life. And then Vince, Mr. Consultant, stepped forward, popped open his briefcase, and started laying out documents on the patio table, real estate contracts. A pen clipped neatly to a folder labeled Transition Timeline. Dad blinked and leaned toward me. "What about the cabin trip?" he mumbled. "We were supposed to go fishing up north the following week. Cabin's been in our family 40 years. He'd talked about it every day for the last month. No one answered him. Lauren clapped softly. A few others joined in, awkward and confused, like they were being told to cheer and didn't know why. Paula bent down and kissed Dad's cheek. He didn't react. It felt like a funeral. I walked through the crowd without a word, past the paper plates, the cooler full of High Life, the table with my photo display, stepped off the porch and straight to the street. Didn't stop walking until I hit the mailbox, pulled out my phone, hit the contact. Mike picked up halfway through the first ring. "It's happening," I said. "Say no more," he replied. "I'm on it." I hung up and stared at the house. Balloons tied to the porch. Vince still flipping through pages. Paula smiling for some lady's phone camera. They thought it was over. They thought they'd won. But the party was just getting started. I didn't go back inside after that call. Just stood there on the curb watching them fake smiles and pose for pictures like everything was normal. But the whole setup had been in motion for months. I'd started noticing things that didn't add up. The tea, for one. Paula kept pushing it on Dad every night around 8. Chamomile, she said. But after 2 sips, he'd be out cold for 12 hours straight. I tested it myself once. Made me feel like I'd taken a muscle relaxer. She'd accidentally mess up his pill boxes too. Skip his blood pressure meds or double his sleeping pills. Then she'd turn around and blame him. He must have taken them already. He forgets things, you know. Yeah, I knew. And I knew when someone was trying to speed things up. The worst part? I found her phone one night when she left it charging in the living room. I wasn't snooping, not at first. But a text popped up from Derek. "Just get him stable until it's signed." I unlocked it. There were years of messages between them, talking about finances, titles, getting in before he slips completely. At one point Derek wrote, "Carl's going to be the biggest roadblock. He's stubborn, but not smart." That one stuck in my ribs. Next day I drove to Cleveland, met up with Uncle Roy at a diner off I-71. He was pale, thinner than I remembered, but sharp as ever. Had a notepad out before the waitress even brought our coffee. Roy used to run commercial real estate. Knew guys in every county office from here to Cincinnati. I told him what I'd seen. Didn't sugarcoat any of it. When I finished, he nodded once. "We're not letting this happen." He made a few calls. Got me in touch with a private evaluator, a geriatric specialist who still made house calls. 2 weeks later, Dad got a clean mental assessment. Mild memory issues, but legally sound. Lucid, aware, still competent. Roy handled the paperwork for a new power of attorney. Dual signature, me and Roy. Notarized, backed by the medical eval. Bulletproof. Mike handled the rest. We installed 2 discrete cameras, one in the kitchen, one in the living room. Motion triggered, high res, backed up to the cloud. I synced them to a private account and gave Mike full access. Didn't take long to get what we needed. Footage of Paula giving Dad unlabeled pills, pouring his tea from a medicine bottle, whispering on the phone with Derek while Dad slept in the next room. One clip showed her ripping up an appointment card and tossing it in the trash. Mike gathered pharmacy records, confirmed the sedatives weren't prescribed, the tea, laced with diphenhydramine, basically liquid Benadryl, in dangerous doses. We even pulled utility data, found a pattern of Derek showing up when Dad was out, sometimes staying for hours. Paula wasn't going to get away with it. We had everything, every document, every recording, every shady text message. All we needed was a trigger. I wanted to believe it wouldn't come to that. I thought maybe the party would shake them. Maybe they'd see we weren't backing down. But that smile on Paula's face told me otherwise. They were already counting their money. The next morning, Mike pulled into the driveway in his silver Buick, clean as ever. Roy followed close behind in his rusty Impala, Dr. Singh right behind him in a navy blue Subaru. Roy looked pale, color gone from his cheeks, but when he stepped out, he stood tall. His jaw was set. Dr. Singh gave me a nod like we were about to step into a courtroom. Inside, the living room buzzed with fake cheer. Derek was mid-sentence, Vince holding out a pen like he was closing on a strip mall. "Let's get these contracts wrapped up," Derek said, motioning for Dad to sign. "Put the pen down," I said, stepping in with Mike behind me. "Dad's not going anywhere." Derek barely looked up. "You don't have a say. I've got power of attorney." Mike stepped forward and dropped a thick folder on the table. The sound echoed off the drywall. "That POA was signed while he was under the influence of sedatives," Mike said calmly. "We've got medical proof, time-stamped footage, pharmacy records, and a notarized override signed 2 weeks ago. It's over." Paula's smile cracked. "This is ridiculous," she said. "This is just Carl being jealous. He's always been threatened by me." Dad looked up from the couch, eyes clearer than I'd seen in months. He blinked slowly, looked at Paula, then turned to Mike. "Why did you drug me?" he asked. His voice didn't shake. Paula's mouth opened, but nothing came out. Lauren stepped in from the hallway, holding Dad's phone. Her hands were trembling. "I read the texts," she said. "Years of it. You said, 'Found a mark. Daughter might be an issue.'" She looked straight at Paula. "That was me, wasn't it?" Paula's face twisted. "You're taking his side now?" she spat. "After everything I've done for this family?" Lauren didn't answer. She just handed the phone to Mike. Then she burst into tears. Vince closed his briefcase in one motion and stepped back like someone had just pulled a fire alarm. "I was told all this was above board," he mumbled. "I need to go." "Sit down," Mike snapped. "You're part of this now." Derek stood, trying to get control. "You have no idea what you're doing," he barked. "Dad's slipping. He needs care. This whole stunt—" "This stunt," Roy cut in, stepping up beside me, "is the only reason he's not in a nursing home run by strangers right now." Derek scoffed. "Roy, with all due respect, you've been out of the loop for years. Carl's paranoid. You're sick." Roy didn't flinch. "And you're done. That prenup Paula signed, she gets nothing. Not the house, not the accounts, not a damn cent. And by the way, charges are being filed. Today." Dr. Singh stepped forward. "And I've submitted a formal report to the state board about the inappropriate medical interference. Someone's going to be answering for this." Paula screamed, like full-body, throat-tearing rage. "I wasted years on this man. You think I cooked and cleaned and wiped his mouth for free?" Dad flinched. I stepped toward her. "You think this was about money?" I said. "You should have known better. You came after the wrong family." Derek was pale now, lips tight. "This is a setup. I'm not signing anything. You'll regret this." Dad stood up, slow but steady, and looked him dead in the eye. "Get out." No yelling, no confusion, just those 2 words. And it was like someone cut the power. Mike motioned to Dr. Singh, and they began pulling the paperwork together. Clean, legal, final. Roy sat down slowly on the recliner, catching his breath, while Lauren stood frozen in the corner, arms wrapped around herself. I followed Paula to the hallway as she yanked open the closet and grabbed her coat. "You did this," she hissed. "No," I said. "You did." She slammed the door so hard the picture frames rattled. Inside, Dad sank back onto the couch. Mike knelt down next to him, showing him the new paperwork, walking him through every page, and I just stood there, arms crossed, watching the whole thing come down. They thought they had us beat, thought we'd roll over, but I never left. and I don't forget. Paula came down the stairs like a tornado, dragging 2 overstuffed suitcases behind her, knocking a picture frame off the wall as she passed. "This marriage was a waste of my life," she screamed, hair frizzed, face red. "I gave up everything for this." "No one asked you to," I said, standing by the front door. She stopped just long enough to shoot me a look like she wanted to swing. "You're nothing, Carl. Just a washed-up grease monkey with a savior complex." I opened the door wide. "Then get saved." She shoved past me and stomped down the porch steps, suitcase wheels clacking like gunshots on the concrete. Didn't even look back. Derek tried to play it cool, straightened his collar, stepped up to Dad. "You'll regret this," he said. "I was looking out for you." Dad leaned forward in his chair. "Get out." No yelling, no emotion, just ice. Derek stood frozen for a second, jaw tight. Then he turned and walked out, brushing shoulders with Mike on his way through. Mike pulled out a folder. "Already filed the protective order. Roy's people are fast-tracking the fraud paperwork. House, accounts, everything's frozen." Roy nodded from the recliner. "Pulled a few strings. The wheels are turning." A week later, Paula pled out. Community service, probation, divorce annulled, no payout, no house, not even a toaster. Derek wasn't as lucky. Mike made sure the DA got the full folder. The texts, the pharmacy records, the fake signatures, all of it. Charges pending. His firm put him on unpaid leave, pending review. His wife moved out, took the kids, changed her number. Haven't heard a word from him since. Lauren came by the next weekend with a box of cookies and an apology that looked like it hurt to say out loud. "I should have trusted my gut," she said. "I thought Paula was weird from day one, but I didn't want to get involved." I didn't let her off easy, just said, "He's your dad too." She nodded. "I know. I'm trying now. I really am." She's kept showing up, twice a month, rain or shine. Brings the kids. They help rake leaves, play Go Fish with Dad. They even asked me to come to one of their school plays. I sat in the back in my work jeans and clapped like hell. House got quiet for a while after Paula left. But it wasn't a bad quiet. It was clean. No fake smiles, no sleeping pills in the tea. Just the hum of the fridge and Dad humming old songs in the kitchen while he made toast. I checked every lock, double-checked the POA paperwork, moved our important files into a fireproof safe. Didn't take any chances. They wanted to erase him, dump him off and cash out. But we beat them to the punch, and we were just getting started. Mornings got simple after everything settled. No more tension in the hallways, no more watching over my shoulder. Just me and Dad, walking the block before breakfast, him with his cane and a beat-up ball cap from the '84 State Fair. He got sharper fast. Sleep improved. Appetite came back. He started remembering things like the name of his childhood dog and which screwdriver was which. Even started beating me at checkers again, 2 nights in a row. We hired Mrs. Collins, a part-time nurse from the next town over. 60, no nonsense, good with meds. She came 3 days a week, helped him shower, tracked everything from blood pressure to how much water he drank. She didn't smile much, but she showed up early and left late. I finally got back under a hood, took a gig fixing lawnmowers out of my buddy Rick's garage. Nothing major, just tune-ups and blade sharpening, paid in cash and cold beer. Felt good to turn a wrench again, even if it wasn't on a cat. Roy sold his place in Cleveland, bought a little brick house 2 blocks over. Said he was done chasing money, just wanted peace. Chemo ended 2 months ago. He looked older, sure, but solid. Came by every Sunday with donuts and war stories. House stayed the same mostly. Same yellow curtains, same porch swing Dad put up when I was 10. We added better lights in the hallway, grabbed bars in the bathroom, switched out the carpet in his room for laminate so he wouldn't trip, and we finally took that fishing trip. Went up north to the cabin mid-May, packed peanut butter sandwiches, bait, and a 6-pack of root beer. He didn't say much on the drive, but I caught him humming to the radio. On the second day, he caught a 14-inch bass, reeled it in, slow, arms shaking, but the look on his face, pure joy. We sat on the dock after, just listening to the wind cut through the trees. He looked over and said, "I don't know what I'd do if you hadn't stuck around." I didn't even have to think. "You'd have lost the house," I said. "And maybe yourself too." He nodded real slow. "You saved my life, Carl." "Nah," I said. "Just gave you the space to save it yourself." The sun dipped low, and we stayed there a while, just two guys and the sound of water hitting the shore. Back home, life moved quiet. Dad started doing the crossword again. Lauren's kids left crayon drawings on the fridge. Mrs. Collins brought muffins on Thursdays. Even the dog next door stopped barking so much. It wasn't perfect. Some nights he still forgot what day it was. Some mornings he needed a reminder to take his meds. But it was real again. Steady. Clean. They'd tried to erase all of that. And we made damn sure they didn't. 3 months later, we were still here. Snow drifted sideways past the porch light, piling soft over the hedges, the mailbox, the cracked driveway. The kind of quiet that settles into your bones. Dad was asleep upstairs. Mrs. Collins left around 6. Checkers board still sat on the coffee table. He'd won tonight. No arguments, no confusion. Just a clean win. I sat on the porch in an old flannel, boots up on the railing, sipping burnt coffee from a chipped mug. Watching the flakes fall, I kept thinking how close we came to losing everything. Not just the house. Him. People think it's about documents, lawyers, proof. But that's not what saved us. It was watching, listening, asking the question nobody else wanted to. You feel that twinge in your gut, that something's not right feeling? That's the only early warning system you've got. You ignore it, you lose. Derek, still no word. Not a text. Not a knock. I don't expect one. I think somewhere deep down, he knows the line he crossed can't be uncrossed. Some betrayals don't come back. And Paula? Word is she's bartending in Phoenix, some chain place off the highway. Dry heat, dry tips. Probably telling sob stories about how she got screwed over by a bunch of backwoods hicks. She can choke on that story for all I care. Lauren's different. She shows up, she stays. Last week, her youngest drew me holding a wrench and labeled it, Uncle Carl Saves the Day. I stuck it to the fridge next to the fishing photo. Sometimes I still wake up at night and check the cameras. Habit, I guess. Sometimes I scroll through old messages and shake my head at how long it took me to see it all. But I don't sit with guilt. I sit with clarity. If you're reading this, or listening, or just sitting there wondering if you should speak up about something that feels off, do it. Doesn't matter if it's your brother, your stepmom, your cousin, your own damn kid, especially if it's family. You don't owe them silence. You owe the people you love protection, even if they don't ask for it. That's the real test. The part no one claps for. This house, it's still standing, and so are we.